Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Warships Legends. My name is Spartan Elite 43 and tonight I have a brand new ship for you guys to see. This is the Tier 6 French battleship, the Lyon. Now, first things first, as we always do. Is it a good looking ship? And honestly, it's not a bad looking ship, but those turrets just don't feel like they belong on that ship. Looks like it should have much smaller turrets, but that being said, it's by far not the worst looking ship ever. It's not a bad looking ship. It just looks a little weird with giant turrets like that. But that being said, let's get into it. Let's look at the commander. We have Robert Gigard, and his skills are Borer. We have Andrew Cunningham and Charles Madden. Again, I should probably change that, but I always forget. Flammable Cannoneer, Gyrating Drill Bits, Marksmanship, Reaching Out XXL, and Will to Rebuild. Alright, now if we go to the loadout. Oop. Yeah, there we go. You can see I have the usuals, aiming systems, propulsion mod, and target acquisition. Now for this one, I always go propulsion mod, but you could easily throw in steering gears in this just for that extra turning so that you can more easily get the broadsides off and get back before you get punched for it. Fully upgraded, obviously, and got my alpha tester flag, and I run the hunter camouflage because I don't run the hunter on anything else, but it looks good on this ship. Alright, so survivability, 53,400 hit points, not bad. Only a 16% damage reduction for torpedoes, so torpedoes really hurt. Also, I've been detonated by a torpedo in this thing, so don't get hit by torpedoes if you can help it. Now, artillery. We have 4 turrets with 4 guns each, giving you a total of 16 340mm guns that can reach out to 17.8 kilometers and reload in just under 30 seconds. They're a little slow turning, with 41.480 degree times. But you don't really notice it too much in this because you already have them on the same side and you use the ship itself to turn them when needed. HE is the selling point of the ship. Don't get me wrong, AP works. Bear with me. But the AP, or the HE in this ship... Oops, sorry if that was really loud. I just destroyed my microphone. Just punched it because I'm getting animated. The HE in this ship is actually very, very good. Reminiscent of the King George. It does so much damage, not even with the fires, don't get me wrong. It sets fires, but the damage that it does is pretty nasty. 4,700 damage, and that is very consistent as long as you're hitting the superstructure. And with the 16 shells that you're firing, it can be absolutely ridiculous how much HE damage you can get per salvo. You'll see that plenty against Iowas in the video coming up. But secondaries are very good as well. We have 130mm 4x2 turrets and 130mm 4x4 turrets. So you have 4 turrets of each, and of one you have 2 guns on each, and the other has 4 guns on each. So some nasty secondaries. A little bit short range, but not terrible. 5.3 kilometers. If you went with a secondary build, you could probably bump that up to close to 7. Maybe a little more. I don't know. It'd be close. And they do damage. So, not bad. And it's HE, which isn't bad. AA defense, we don't really care about this because we don't have carriers at the moment. Maneuverability. 25 knots is not exactly fast, but it's not slow for the, high tier, it's not bad. 700-meter turning circle is not bad for a battleship. 14.8 seconds on the rudder shift time is not bad either. Concealment, 14.2, 11.72, and 12.2. Not bad. For battleships. Like, this is a battleship. Now, if we look at the overview, you've got 1 plus and 1 minus, and they're both the guns. So, 1, you have more guns on your ship at this tier than any other gun in any other ship in the game, with the exception of the Atlanta. The Atlanta has more guns than you. But the Atlanta has more guns than anybody, so that's a thing. But 16 battleship guns is still pretty fantastic. Now, as you can see, the negative is that it has modest guns. they're low caliber. They're only 340 millimeters. So any battleship that's angled, you're going to struggle to get penetrations. You can get penetrations, and you can definitely Citadel with this thing, with its dispersion being pretty fantastic. At times, disgusting. But the HE is where you're going to make your money. Because this thing's HE, like I said, feels a lot like the King George. Maybe without the fire chance, but the King George's damage, and it has more guns. It's pretty nasty. You'll see it. Now, the Lyon, a battleship design created before the outbreak of World War I, representing an improvement on the previous Normandy class, but carrying enhanced primary armament. The addition of the 4th main gun turret allowed the ship to deliver a unique 16-gun broadside salvo, and it was designed in 1913. Now, I'm going to go ahead and leave this here, and we're going to jump over into the match before I go getting too crazy. But look at these secondaries, alright? There's your quad turret. There's your double turrets. Or no, that's another quad turret. So you have 2 quad turrets on each side. You've got a double turret there. You got another double turret here. 2 quad turrets. And you have a double turret on each side at the front. So, nasty little guns. Nasty. But, with that being said, let's get to the match. Alright, so let's get down to it. Now we are on Trident. What do we know about Trident, guys? Well, we know that on the short side of the Trident, the stick side of the Trident, that if you spawn in the south, you have the numbers advantage over the north. Just the way the map is spawned. So what you want to do is you want to push that side in force. And then you want to get your crisscross or your crossfire on the enemy on the other side, hoping that your team lives long enough to make that a thing, because they're going to be overmatched on the A side while we're going to go to the C side. Now, I started turning, and then finally the Scharnhorst wakes up, so I'm glad he did actually start moving, because that would have been a collision right off the bat, which would have slowed me down, and that would have been bad. But he didn't, and we're fine. Now, first thing spotted is an Iowa. Now, that should tell you right away we're not top tier in this match. He's just outside my range, but he just gets into my range. Perfect timing. Beautiful. Now, remember what I said about the HE and this ship? Watch this salvo. 1 salvo, 16 rounds, high explosive versus an Iowa. Yeah, that's 9,300 damage and a fire. That's insanity. That was 6 hits. And we got 9,300 damage and set a fire. Watch this next salvo. Wait for it. And fire the guns. Now, every time I fire, you'll notice I look back initially just to see if I'm getting ready to take rounds, because I know that they could hit me. And, yeah. We get 6 more hits and more damage. Didn't get as much damage that time out of the salvo because of the fact that we hit towards the front of the ship. We didn't hit the superstructure. If you want to do maximum damage with your high explosive, you got to hit that superstructure. And if you do, this ship can absolutely chunk battleships. Like, absolutely chunk them. It's like getting multiple penetrations every single time. So, definitely, and that was a perfect example. Do you see how much damage we just took off of? Just absolutely chunked him. And he's still burning. Obviously, our fires already went out on him, but he's still burning from someone. We look over, we've got a Kagero that's been spotted, and so we're going to make a mental note of that. We don't want to get caught by the Kagero. We know he's there. And we're just going to go ahead. I waited to see if he was going to finish him off. It didn't look like he was going to, so I go ahead, I fire mine, and sure enough, down goes the Iowa. Taking out an Iowa this early in the match is absolutely fantastic, and we did it without any armor piercing. And we already have 42,000 damage off of 1 Iowa. That's crazy! 42,000 damage off of an Iowa with nothing but HE. That's ridiculous. So that should tell you just how dangerous the high explosive is on this ship. Now, I'm not saying spam high explosive all the time, but at any sort of range like that, definitely want to be trying to use that high explosive, because at the angle of impact that you're going to be coming in at, your small caliber shells are going to struggle to pin even side armor of battleships. So personally, I would hold off on firing armor piercing at beyond 11 kilometers. Now, if you're inside that 11 kilometer range, then by all means, unleash the 16 guns of armor piercing. But look at this Iowa. We're about to hit him. And, yep, that's 12,355 damage and another fire. Now, luckily, our Akatsuki woke up. He was at, like, AFK for a minute. And he woke up, was able to start moving, and immediately spotted the enemy Kagaro's torpedoes headed in our direction. And I appreciate that. I knew they would probably be coming, but being able to see them that far away gave me perfect time to turn in and not take any torps. Now, remember what I said about taking torps in this thing. It's very dangerous to take torpedoes in this ship. It doesn't like torpedoes. I've been detonated by a torpedo already in this ship, which doesn't bode well. And the sad part is, it was only the third torpedo I took. Now I know what you're saying. Oh, Sport, 3 torpedoes? You took 3? Yeah. Well, I took 2 the first time, and then the second time I got hit, it was a detonation for like 16,000 damage. But, you know, you can't win them all. When you're hunting destroyers in a battleship, you're gonna take torpedoes. That's just the way it is. That's why cruisers are the best hunters. But this Iowa has realized quickly that he is screwed up. He's trying to turn away, but is far too late. He's just making himself a 900-foot high-explosive magnet, and we get some more hits on him, taking our damage now to over 80,000 damage, and he's still burning. He's still burning. Now we've got destroyers firing armor piercing at us from inside a smoke screen, so that's like the least dangerous thing you could ever happen. But we also avoided all of the torpedoes because we made the change of course and came over to the backside of the island. So we avoided all of those torpedoes. We get the shot off on the Iowa. Nobody else was able to get to him. He'd already put out the fire, but unfortunately for him, he didn't get enough distance. And down he goes, giving us our second Iowa kill in a Tier 5 or Tier 6 battleship that has 340mm guns, using nothing but high explosive. And we're up to 90,000 damage. Yeah, that's significant. But we're not done yet, folks. Now, there was good communication here. There was a cruiser behind me and an Attigo who started talking. Me and him started talking, and he did a pretty good job of helping support us with using his hydroacoustics, to pick up some torpedoes in a moment. This Bismarck is getting away after I just told the Bismarck, hey, there's still I know you want to go after the Fletcher, but there is still a Japanese destroyer somewhere over there, whether it's the smoke screen or he's already slipped past us. Unfortunately for the Bismarck, I had no idea that the Kagero had already slipped past us. While we've been, distracted with the Iowa and the Fletcher, the Kagero has slipped past us and is setting up torp strikes from our behinds. And this poor Bismarck is about to eat every last one of them. I say every last one of them because he's actually not. He's not going to eat every last one of them. A couple are going to get through, and one of them is actually going to hit the Attigo that was helping us. It was just one of those things where we're like, hey, if you've got your hydroacoustic, go ahead, use it. We know there are going to be torps on the way. Sure enough, he spots the torps coming off the right side. Those are from the Fletcher. What we didn't spot until it was too late was the torps coming off the left side of the Bismarck. So I called out, hey, Bismarck, you got torps off your right side. Prepare, get yourself out of there. And then I look over and I'm like, oh my God, you're screwed. And yeah. Japanese torpedoes, and you eat that many of them, you're not going to have a good day. And watch this. The Attigo was perfectly fine, and then he kind of like rolled right out in front of these and catches one right up the prop shaft. Not preferable, especially considering it was a Japanese torpedo. So that was probably the most damage I've ever seen out of a single salvo of a Kagero, because he took all of the health of the Bismarck and then took a good chunk of the health of the Attigo with one single torp strike. I mean, you're looking at what? 75 to 80,000 damage in one salvo? Ouch. I say one salvo. It was 2 different torpedo launches, but it was, you know, 1 torpedo strike. I call it a salvo. Anyway, I know there's some people out there to be like, Spartan, you don't know what you're talking about. That's not a salvo. That's just, no. You know what I mean. But we're kind of right in the middle of everything, in a perfect position with our battleship that doesn't have a whole lot of range to help the team do as much as possible, and we're still firing AP or HE. Now, I thought about switching to AP, but with those 2 destroyers still lurking around, I didn't really want to chance it, because if I switch to AP now to shoot at the cruiser, I chance having the destroyer come out, and then I'm kind of stuck with AP. So I kept it on HE, fully expecting to get into a fight with a destroyer at any moment. Luckily for me, I'm also paying attention. Again, people get on me all the time for not following my shots in and stuff, and I get that from a, hey, we want to see where you're hitting and how you're getting the damage that you're getting. But from my standpoint, I'm looking around trying to make sure I'm not going to get torped first. That is my main objective. Now, I've done a really good job up to this point, not getting torped, maintaining good aggression, balanced with not getting myself obliterated. And I mentioned how tough this ship can be. I actually have put, and that was a terrible salvo, by the way. I completely forgot about the mountain and managed to shoot all 16 rounds right into the mountain. But don't worry, the mountain's not mad that I cut it down about, 3 or 4 feet. The Kagero gets spotted here, and that's kind of a big deal, because now I know where he's at, and I know that he's got torps in the water. There's only one reason that a destroyer ever gets spotted, and that's to launch torps. I don't want to find out what a bunch of Japanese torps are going to do to me. I already know how that story ends, and it isn't in my favor. So while I'm closing the gap to get shots on the Scharnhorst over here, which is just outside our range as he's sailing away from us, I get my torpedo warning. I've already changed course, but I realize I need to change a little bit more and slow down, just to give them enough time to pass, like McTavish said. Just let them pass. You don't need to do anything crazy, just let them pass. And sure enough, we get away with it. Now, the Scharnhorst had the same kind of idea. He slows down, and most of my shells miss, but we do get a hit for like 1,500 damage. Not a bad hit for a high explosive on a battleship. And Scharnhorsts are no strangers to high explosives, because pretty much everybody shoots a Scharnhorst with high explosive, unless you've got the perfect broadside and you've got really big guns. You don't generally citadel them, but even with the big guns, you can get a lot of penetrations, which still adds up to a significant amount of damage. But then you've got HE that can do, serious damage each time. Now, we once again only hit him with 2. One of them shattered, which I don't know how a high explosive round can shatter. It's high explosive. It's supposed to detonate on impact, right? We're not using impact fuse, what is it? Impact fuse high explosive IFHE. But still, it's supposed to detonate on contact. I don't know how it shatters. How does that work? Armor piercing I can under... Well, speaking of armor piercing, that's our first salvo of armor piercing, and... No. Can't have that. Just couldn't quite pull it off. He slowed down and turned, keeping us from doing it. Now, I was fully expecting the Kagero to play a little more aggressively here, but he doesn't. And so, I'm kind of stuck looking for a target to shoot, and I'm behind an island, and I can't actually help the team at the moment. Not preferable, but that's not going to last much longer, because, hello, Attigo, how you doing? I have armor piercing ready, and, wait for it, pow! Our first citadel of the game. Might as well get one of those thrown in there. We're already doing pretty good. We've got a first blood. We've got 106,000 damage, primarily shooting nothing but HE. With the exception of that last kill. Now, I thought the kid would follow the island and come over to try to set up a torp strike. Does the kid get torpedoes? I think it does. I don't actually have the kid, but I can't remember. I know on PC there was a destroyer that only had guns for the Americans, and I thought that it was the kid, but I could be wrong. Somebody will let me know, because you guys are smarter than I am, so I appreciate that. If you do, I'd appreciate it. Now, we have 2 destroyers left. The Kagero thinks he's being sneaky, but in all honesty, he's really, really not being sneaky at all. He's hiding. He's sent torps towards the one side, but it's one salvo of torpedoes. One set of tubes from his ship. I know he gets 2 sets. I know that he's going to set up a torp strike on me. I'm going to make sure of it. Because there's not much time left. There's less than 2 minutes. I'm going to start rotating my guns to the right side to get ready to shoot him. And I'm going to try to bait him in. Now, we've got the kid out here, so I'm going to go ahead and try to hit the kid. But honestly, at this range, if I can generally hit destroyers at distance. I don't really have too much trouble with it like some people do. But this guy was doing a pretty good job of not sailing in straight lines and stuff. So we go ahead and we shoot out ahead of him. Unfortunately, he had slowed down to shoot at the, or to set up a smoke screen and hide. So we ended up leading him way too much. Now this Kagero comes out and he's like, oh, I've got him now. Look at me. I'm going to launch torpedoes. And I'm like, hi, Sunshine. How you doing? Now my secondaries are starting to fire, which kind of shows you how nifty those little turrets are, because they get pretty good firing angles for secondaries. Firing straight over the nose of the ship, basically. But we're just about over here, and wait for it. Remember about not missing missing destroyers too much? When you're inside that kind of distance, it's amazing that you can get away with it. But the game ends just before time runs out. We pulled it off, and I managed to not get torpedoed anyway. But we pulled a pretty good game out of this ship, and honestly, it's crunchier than I thought it would be, because you're not, you bow tank the shots that are coming in, and then you swing the rear out to get all of the guns on target while the enemy is reloading. And as long as you do that, you can have fantastic results in this thing. So if you like what I'm doing, punch the like button, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, I will see you in the next video.